below ground level. I got in my car and began heading over to Steve's house. There, I would meet Steve, Frank, Colin, and Chad for a day trip. We'd be going to Murray Caverns in Virginia. I arrived at Steve's house and stepped out. Everyone else is already there waiting, except for one person, Chad.
I'm trying to take things damn low, G,
said Steve. Sounds good. Once Chad arrives, we'll hop in the car and drive on over, I replied. 5 minutes later, we all heard the sound of a car engine on the road parallel to Steve's house. Hopefully that's Chad, Colin remarked. We couldn't actually see Chad's red convertible yet, even though he was pretty much at Steve's house. You see, the way the road is set up there was that Steve lived right next to a four-way intersection. One corner of the intersection is obscured by a row of dense bushes and trees, meaning we couldn't see what car was coming to the intersection, but we assumed that it was Chad. However, what rounded that blind corner was not a red convertible or even anything in that realm. No. Rather, it was a blue minivan. Uh-oh, said Colin. A pit dropped to my stomach as the blue minivan pulled into Steve's driveway and parked. Whoever was in it left the engine running as it just sat there, idle, doing literally nothing. None of us moved an inch. The driver then proceeded to roll down their window. It was no one other than Herbert Ernie himself.
Hello, fellas. Party without me?
Whoa, why are you here?
Just cruising around the countryside on this peaceful morning, and I happen to see you boys.
No, leave now. You are not invited on our trip.
Trip? Now that sounds like something I want to stick around for.
Colin made a grave mistake by telling Herbert that we were going on a trip. I would have just said we were all about to go on home, and maybe that would have warded Herbert off. But no, he didn't say that, and now the damage is already done. Now, we just had to convince Herbert that coming on our trip was not worth it. It was our only hope if we still wanted a chance of an enjoyable trip.
So where are you fellas off to on this Friday?
Murray Caverns, Colin replied. But, it's probably going to be super crowded and probably won't be fun, so you likely would not be interested.
Nonsense. That sounds like a splendid way to spend a Saturday. Don't worry, fellas. Without me, this trip would be a flat.
No! Herbert, please. You can't come on this trip. You aren't part of the invite list, and you don't have a ticket to enter either.
You mean ticket to ride?
Replied Herbert as he flicked me a crinkled ticket from an arcade. He then proceeded to scurry into my car before hiding in the trunk. Told Herbert! We'll do another trip with you another time. If you don't come on this one, we'll even take you to the beach.
It's too late. This trip is set in stone, and we better leave right now if we better be first in line for slushies.
Ugh. I groaned in frustration. Herbert wore a pink Hawaiian shirt and short shorts with knee-high socks. On his feet, he wore a pair of water shoes. He had shaved off all his eyebrows and his eyelashes, and a fresh buzz cut made him look even crazier. Now, you may be wondering, why are we so against Herbert coming on our trips? The reason is because he's very delusional and perverted. He thinks he's like a 10 out of 10 in terms of personality, looks, and smarts. In his mind, he's the whole package. There's reasons he calls himself the ladies' man.
Oh, fuck my fam!
Steve exclaimed.
If this shit's coming, then I am not coming. Nothing will change my mind unless he leaves.
Oh, well, we wouldn't want to lose a member of our bro squad. Now, would we, guys?
A voice said.
Let's get it. Chad is finally here.
Of course I'm here, bros. I would never leave my boys hanging.
This seemed to change Steve's mind, and so we hopped in the car.
Yay! Herbert's coming!
Exclaimed Frank.
Yes, indeed.
Herbert murmured to himself as he rubbed his hands together as if he was planning something. We hit the road. I was driving, Colin sat in the passenger seat, Steve and Frank sat in the back seats, and Chad took residence in the middle seat, with Herbert squeezed into the trunk. My car was a Subaru Outback at the time, meaning the trunk was connected to the main compartment of the car. This meant Herbert could chat with us as we drove.
What have you fellas been up to lately?
Herbert said. Most of us remained silent, except Frank.
Pretty good, Herbert. Any luck with the ladies?
Yet again, we remained silent.
Oh, I could say the babes have been going quite well, if I do say so myself. Not quite a girlfriend yet, but I'm talking to a few.
Chad smoothly replied.
No girlfriend yet? Well, let's change that right now. Take out your phone now.
One sec, bro. Gotta unlock my passcode first.
Chad replied as he pulled up his contact list.
Time to give Sophia a call. Through IG, of course.
Chad called her and Herbert immediately snatched Chad's phone from his hands.
Yo! Give it back, bro.
Don't worry, Chad Lassie. My business name, the wingman Ernie, has scored over hundreds of guys just like you. Your first girlfriend,
Herbert announced as the phone rang. Then the girl picked up. Here was the conversation.
Hello?
A new client. Sir, milady, how about you come on over to my place?
I'd prefer not. You don't sound like Chad.
Of course I'm Chad. And Chad has a business recommendation.
Okay, what is it?
Listen up. I know a close buddy of mine who owns a successful startup business called Wingman Ernie.
Oh, really now? I would like to hear more about this wingman Ernie.
Of course, it's run by a very charming young lad named Herbert K. Ernie. The business location is 6399 Boom Beach Drive by the neighborhood. It's near the Woods parking lot.
I live over there. There's only houses. It's just a neighborhood.
Come on.
Come on, bro. You just lost me a babe.
I was only trying to help, but unfortunately, she was a tough fish to catch. Luckily, Wingman Ernie can still fly through for you boys. I hereby declare this trip dedicated to getting us all girlfriends.
No! Colin exclaimed. We're just trying to have a fun and relaxing trip to Murray Caverns. We don't need you ruining our tour.
Take it easy now, Colin. You should respect a young entrepreneur trying to grow his business.
Since when the fuck do you have a business? I questioned.
Come on now. We all know Wingman Ernie has already made quite the bang. I've helped hundreds of fellows get some action.
We continued driving for about an hour before we began nearing the Shenandoah area, which is where Murray Caverns was.
Muffin House! We must stop at the Muffin House immediately!
The Muffin House was a roadside restaurant/bakery that served all sorts of tasty treats. Sorry, Herbert, but we already passed it.
Turn around!
No, stop there on the way back. We won't want to be in late in line for slushies, right, Herbert?
I guess Nick Man has a point. We all need our adventure juice.
Just then, we began pulling into the Murray Caverns parking lot.
Turn it aside, Nick. We are now ascending into glory. This looks like the perfect place to grow my business.
No! Remarked Colin. We parked the car and stepped outside. It was a warm day in early June, so it was a bit humid. The fog was still out, though. We headed on over to the office to purchase our tour tickets.
Not so fast, Nick. We need those slushies first.
Herbert piped. Fine, I said reluctantly, knowing that if I said no, then he would make a scene. We all walked over to the slushie stand and bought Herbert a cherry slushie. However, Herbert proceeded to slap the slushie out of my hand.
I don't want cherry. I want blue raspberry. Live with it, bitch!
Remarked Steve. Herbert, I fucking paid for that, I said. But Herbert took action. He proceeded to dive over the slushie counter before getting behind the desk. The worker tried to stop him, but he didn't succeed. Herbert proceeded to dive into the slushie machine. It was the kind that had the thing that spun around on the inside. Blue raspberry slushie then began spilling over the edge of the vat, due to Herbert's massive size taking up all the room. The machine acted like a vacuum suction device, as Herbert was pressed against the walls, his flab being jiggled around as the machine spun. He looked like an oversized beach ball made out of flesh. He began drinking all the contents of the machine too, and before we knew it, there was no more slushie left in the machine. He screamed. Then, the glass walls of the machine shattered, as it couldn't handle the pressure from Herbert. This resulted in Herbert being tumbled down onto the floor. He sprung up and ran out of the slushie shack. He had gotten extremely bloated as of this point. He was about the size of a porta potty. The worker cowered back in fright as the giant blob exited the slushie shack. Then, Herbert turned to face us. He looked extra crazy. His eyes were bloodshot and his pupils were dilated. He was covered head to toe in blue raspberry slushy. His triple chin rested on his chubby chest. A wide grin then spread across his face. He then began shivering uncontrollably.
Bread freeze!
Herbert then proceeded to scurry off down the hill before disappearing into the woods. Everyone in the vicinity was beyond shocked. People looked at us in suspicion. Let's get out of here, I said. We walked over to the ticket booth and bought our tickets for the 3-hour cave tour. We were directed to wait inside the gift shop for our tour to begin. I'm so glad Herbert's gone, said Colin. Same, I replied. I just hope he doesn't come back before the tour starts. He doesn't have tickets. He can't come on the tour. Oh yeah, you're right. I guess we got nothing to worry about then. Unfortunately, this would not be the case.
Steve, look! Gold!
Frank pointed out.
Fuck that fake ass shit, man. I'm a man of truth. And I can't be getting none of that fake shit. I find gold myself in the mines.
I don't think there'll be any gold down there, Colin replied.
You gotta shut your booty hole. I know my riches left and right. I know exactly where to find the best veins of gold.
Nick,
said Frank. What is it? I answered.
can we step at the Muffin House? Even though Herbert's not with us? Of course we can, Bruce.
Chad piped.
After this rigorous cave exploration, we'll need some grub to refill our gains.
Now my man's talking.
We looked around waiting for another 10 minutes until an average-looking middle-aged man walked inside wearing a name tag. It was our tour guide. Hello everybody, my name's Mike and I'll be y'all's cave guide today. Looks like everyone's here and accounted for, so I ask that you all follow me downstairs to enter the cave. Our tour group consisted of about 20 people total, including us. We followed our guide down some stairs, which led into the caverns. The caverns were huge and had stalactites hanging from the ceiling, and lights lined up the cave walls. Also, the tour wasn't rigorous at all, despite what Chad claimed. We had flat concrete floors and steps to walk on, with railings.
Ooh, tough workout, am I right, bros?
Said Chad as we ascended a small flight of stairs.
Emphasis on small.
Alright everybody, we are now entering the Wombat Chamber, known for its high ceilings and impressive stalagmites, Mike said. The whole group went silent and glared at Frank, even the tour guide. Frank, what the fuck was that? I said.
Just stretching out the voice box.
We continued the tour. We were walking in some cave hallway with an extremely wide and high ceiling. We were walking on a concrete path built alongside the cave wall. Massive stalactites hung from the ceiling. An underground river with rushing rapids sat next to us. It was very impressive to witness, and the whole situation was extremely peaceful. The tranquility was hard to beat. It was like an alternate realm down there. However, the tranquility was soon broken by a loud voice. The sound echoed off the cave walls and was spoken quite triumphantly.
Hello, ladies. It's me, Wingman Ernie. Eh?
It echoed against the cave walls. It was Herbert Ernie. It took everyone a minute to locate him, but soon we spotted him. He was perched up on a high ledge near the ceiling of the cave, watching over us. I had no idea how he even got up there. He was still wearing the short shorts and Hawaiian shirt, but now also wearing a wingsuit. Oh no! A person cried. He's getting ready to swoop in. And they were right. I saw Herbert, still on his ledge, performing a series of stretches.
Would want to cramp up now, would we, ladies?
He remarked as he continued his stretching routine.
It's time to make the wing and Wingman Ernie every other day.
Herbert then did the unimaginable. He popped the lollipop in his mouth, even eating the stick, before taking flight. Via the wingsuit, he was heading straight for us. He didn't go far though. As he whizzed through the cave, he made a sharp turn and began getting wrapped around a hanging stalactite.
No! My plan! How am I supposed to spread Wingman Ernie if I'm tangled in a caterpillar?
That's when I realized Herbert wasn't actually flying. Rather, he was hanging from something, and that something was fishing line. It was hard to see because of how thin it was, but it had somehow gotten him tangled into a jumbled mess against the stalactite.
Somebody help me! Wingman Ernie has been getting stuck in his own webbing.
The tangled fishing line around the stalactite made him look like he was caught in a giant spider web. Herbert screamed as the stalactite fell from the ceiling due to his chubby weight. He was still caught in the fishing line though, and was now sent plunging into the underground river next to us. The river was gushing with rapids, which then carried Herbert into a dark tunnel as his screams echoed away. Moving on, Mike said. Mike sounded like he just wanted to move on, obviously, and forget about what had happened, like almost traumatized it away. Next, the tour room led us down a narrow cave tunnel and into a huge room. Behold, the Room of Darkness, Mike said grimacingly. In this room, we will turn off all the lights so you can experience the true darkness of Marais Caverns. After that, I will let you all explore the cave on your own for a good 20 minutes.
Sounds good to me, man.
Steve said.
Turning off the lights doesn't really seem like a good idea.
Hey, shut your pussy ass up, bus man. Everyone knows this dude's the biggest bitch in town.
And this shut Frank up for a while. The tour guide informed us that we had 5 minutes to stand around and chat before he shut the lights off. Frank, Steve, Colin, and I stood around and chatted. Chad went to show off his muscles to some ladies. I looked over and saw him flexing his rather blocky-looking bicep. I still don't know how muscles can look that blocky, but you know, I'm sure it's nothing. He then turned around and flexed his back muscles by raising his arms and then rolling them back and forth.
Behold, Chad Bruillaback,
he announced suavely.
Oh,
some girls replied. Alright, it is now time to shut off the lights. They're going to remain off for 30 seconds to truly feel the darkness of Marais Caverns. Mike then shut the cave lights off. It was so dark, I couldn't even see my own hand in front of my face. The whole group went silent. However, that silence was soon broken by a scream. It echoed off the cave walls. Uh-oh, the guide said, sounding worried. He quickly switched the lights back on. None of us knew what had happened or who made the noise. But that's when we realized, Chad, he wasn't anywhere to be seen. Chad, I shouted. but there was no response. "Oh, it seems like we have a missing person," Mike exclaimed. I had no idea where Chad was until I connected the dots. I heard him scream, and I also remembered hearing the sound of water splashing. There was a massive subterranean lagoon beneath the platform we stood on, and so I peered over the railing. "Chad, what are you doing?" Chad was in the water. It was murky, so you couldn't really see below the surface, meaning all we could see was Chad's head. He appeared to be struggling to stay afloat though as he treaded water. "Young man, you climb out of that water this instant!"
What's it, bros? You gotta take my time. I had a protein shake earlier, and I wouldn't want to get a brutally horse cramp.
The whole tour group now had their eyes on Chad. "Chad, get up here now," Colin insisted. That's when I noticed something. Chad's signature football Letterman jacket was hanging on the railing. I guess it got torn off of him when he fell into the water. Chad seemed very hesitant about getting out of the water. Maybe like he was a little self-conscious about his body, but that didn't make any sense. Chad was the fittest dude on the tour. "Get out of the water now, or I'm calling security," Mike shouted. And so Chad panicked.
Look, bros, a hot air balloon.
Chad exclaimed, pointing away from himself. I don't know why we fell for it, considering there wouldn't be any hot air balloons of all things underground. But we looked anyway, before promptly looking back. Chad is making his escape. "Hey, get back here!" Mike shouted. Chad was doggy paddling fiercely towards the opposite bank of the waterhole, towards a dark tunnel. He was shirtless now. We only saw him for a second, but it looked like he was a little more flabby than he made himself out to be. He disappeared into the darkness. "You boys seem like you know that rascal. You mind going after him?" Mike asked us. "Don't worry," I replied. "We're going after him." Next thing I knew, the four of us were climbing over the railing and crouch walking over to the tunnel where Chad had ran off to. We got our phone flashlights out before venturing after him. "We'll wait here for you boys," Mike shouted. "Okay guys, make sure we look behind us often. We do not want to get lost in here," I said. "Right, but how on earth are we going to find Chad?" Colin replied.
Fuck that, G. Lately, Chad man's been acting like a bit of a pussy.
We decided to simply just call it to Chad though. "Chad!" We got no response. We walked down the dark tunnel for a bit more until we heard something scurry. We even caught a glimpse of it with our flashlights. It scurried behind a boulder. "Chad?"
Don't come back here, bros,
he replied. Chad's voice almost sounded like he was sick or something. Nonetheless, we peered behind the boulder. It was Chad, except he was shirtless. And flabby. He looked like Mr. Krabs in that one SpongeBob episode where Mr. Crab molted.
Don't look at me, bros.
"Chad, what happened?"
Oh, you see, bros, my gains have molted. It happens every year, and the only reason they molted is because I've been getting too much gains. My skin got too tight, so that's where I am, as I am right now.
Fuck that shit, bitch. I shit my gains every single day, and you don't see me complaining.
I saw right through Chad's bullshit though, and knew he never actually had his dream body, or the gains, in the first place. We gave Chad his Letterman jacket back and he hugged it like it was his teddy bear. Before putting it back on, he rewrapped himself in saran wrap and put some football pads on his shoulders. As soon as he did this, his confidence came right back, like nothing ever happened. He even acted like he still had the gains.
You know, bros, I say we ditch this tour and browsy ourselves over to the Muffin House for some gains grub.
Chad said as he flexed his bicep. "No, we have to get back to the tour," Colin said.
Nah, man, Muffin House, the way to go.
I don't know, guys. I am pretty hungry.
Frank added. "Okay, fine, we'll go to the Muffin House. But first, we gotta get away out of this cave. We could just go and finish the tour," said Colin.
Fine, man, we'll finish the fucking tour.
We began back in the direction we had come from. However, the scenery didn't look familiar to us at all. 10 minutes later, and we had come to accept the fact that we were lost.
Oh no, bros,
Chad exclaimed.
How are we supposed to get to the Muffin House now?
However, just as Chad finished the word Muffin House, we began hearing a rumbling sound coming from deep within the earth. It wasn't just any rumbling, however. That rumbling was the sound of a machine. We were all extremely confused about what was going on. Is our tour guide coming to find us? I thought to myself. "Guys, turn off your flashlights and hide," I ordered everybody, so as if someone was coming, we wouldn't be seen. We all ducked behind some boulders and waited. The sound of the machinery persisted for about 10 minutes. It was getting louder and closer as well. That's when it happened. All of a sudden, a massive hole appeared in the cave wall. We looked and saw the tip of a machine-operated drill poking through the limestone. Then it happened. A section of the wall collapsed and headlights poured into the cave, blinding us.
Did somebody say Muffin House?
It was no one other than Herbert Ernie himself.
Well, after a handy day's work in the mines, a sooty puppy would be exquisite.
Herbert wore the same outfit from earlier, and yes, that includes the short khaki shorts. He was sitting on top of one of those mining drills. Think of it as basically like a lawn tractor, but with a drill attached on the end of it. The machine's max speed is like 3 miles per hour, and drilled extremely slowly. "Herbert, what the fuck are you doing?" Colin exclaimed.
I need your help. Wingman Ernie has gone below ground level. But don't worry, soon we'll reach for the stars and ascend into glory.
No, replied Colin. Enough with you and enough with your stupid business. We never invited you here in the first place, and now you're doing nothing but getting us into trouble.
Nonsense. We shall go to the Muffin House for celebration. It will be the perfect spot to promote Wingman Ernie.
I knew then and there that we had to get out of this cave and away from Herbert, and luckily I had just the plan to do that. However, I couldn't just spill my plan in front of Herbert Ernie. I needed to do something a little more sneaky. I whipped out my phone and opened up the Translate app. I typed the message and translated it into Russian before playing the recording and secretly showing the message written on screen to everyone but Herbert. Here was the message. We will agree to go to the Muffin House with Herbert, and Herbert will lead us to an exit. Once we get out of the cave, we're going to book it away from Herbert and back to the car. Then, we're going to go to the Muffin House without Herbert before going home. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. Herbert had other ideas planted in his head.
Nice try, Nick, but I know German.
It's not German, Herbert. It's Russian.
Nonsense. I know German when I hear it. And luckily, I know just what you said. You said, it's time to go to the Muffin House and grow Wingman Ernie.
Herbert then turned the drill tractor around and began riding at like 3 miles per hour back in the tunnel he drilled. The four of us ran past Herbert, leaving him in the dust. We figured that the tunnel he drilled must lead directly to the surface. You know, that just makes logical sense. Though we panicked when we hit a dead end. What? Colin exclaimed. There was no time to think, though. We immediately turned around and began running back the direction we had come. We stopped dead in our tracks, though, when we saw headlights shining on a wall from around the corner, followed by the sound of machinery. Herbert laughed in an evil-sounding manner. We could see the silhouette of his chubby, buzzed head, along with his triple chin being cast along the wall from the headlights. He then rounded the corner. The drill was spinning in full motion, and he looked crazier than ever before. The tunnel he drilled was incredibly narrow, with a very short ceiling, meaning his tractor was literally blocking the entire way, as the tunnel he cut was in the exact shape of the tractor drill.
Traitors! You betrayed the code of Wingman Ernie. Now prepare to get drilled!
The four of us were scared to a whole new level, as we were literally about to get impaled by a massive drill. However, I really don't know why we were that afraid to begin with, because Herbert's schemes always tend to fail. We were proved correct when the engine from his tractor drill began to sputter and black smoke began pouring out from the engine.
Dretch! Curse your refined machinery!
His tractor continued sputtering before it blew out altogether. Even the headlights flickered off, leaving us in the pitch black. He simply stood there in the awkward silence for a minute before Herbert took action. We felt this chubby blubber ram up against us as he attacked. Go, go, get out of here! I shouted as we all turned our phone flashlights on. We squeezed past Herbert as well as his tractor drill before booking it out of that tunnel. It was all a blur. I had no idea where we were going, deep underground in some cave with none other than Herbert Ernie. It must have been a miracle, but we somehow managed to find an exit to that cave. It wasn't the main exit, rather some tiny crack in the rocks that we had to squeeze through that emptied us into some random spot in the middle of the woods. We were blinded by the light due to being underground in the dark for so long. After looking around for a minute, we realized that the main parking lot for the caverns was just down the hill, though we weren't safe yet because Herbert Ernie then emerged from the cave a few seconds later.
My eyes!
He screamed. We used him getting his eyes adjusted to the light as an opportunity to book it to the parking lot and to the car. People gave us some pretty weird looks as we ran as fast as we could, but then we made it back to the car. We were about to get in until we realized something. Frank! He was a slow runner, and we completely left him in the dust. No, Chad is out of breath too, but at least he caught up with us.
Guys, we dip! Help!
Frank exclaimed from the other side of the parking lot. He was running as fast as he could though, but not very fast. Herbert caught up and tackled him. I ran over to save Frank. I took out a pack of tartar sauce from my backpack and squirted Herbert in the eyes with it.
No!
Herbert collapsed to the ground before eating the tartar sauce promptly after.
Yummy!
We all got in the car and sped away from there. Whew, I said. Glad we got away from that thing. Same, said Colin, clearly shaken. We all agreed to celebrate getting away from Herbert by stopping at the Muffin House for a post-cave expedition gains meal, as Chad called it. We entered the cafe and were taken to our seats. We got a booth by the window overlooking the parking lot. A waiter came and took our order. Colin ordered the chicken Alfredo. Frank ordered a grilled cheese with the crusts cut off. Steve ordered chili, and Chad ordered a chili cheese dog with a side of unsalted Virginia-style peanuts. And I simply got steak.
My edition is lit. It's time to get chili,
stated Steve.
I think we can all agree that cheese dogs are all in all essential for maximum gains.
said Chad. I don't think hot dogs are the best source of protein, Colin replied. Chad ignored Colin and continued to chow down. The food is pretty good altogether and we were enjoying our meal when all of a sudden, our enjoyment was cut. Everyone in the restaurant gasped as a chubby figure in a Hawaiian shirt and short shorts came crab waddling out of the bathroom. It was Herbert Ernie at the Muffin House.
Hello, ladies. Wingman Ernie has arrived and he's hot and ready to help out some clients. Ladies, anyone? Eh?
You, get out of our restaurant now! The cops are on their way, a staff member shouted at Herbert.
Never!
Herbert replied. Next thing I knew, all was running loose. Herbert ran around the restaurant screaming frantically, whilst knocking over tables of food. He slid around on his potbelly, and even the soda machine exploded. Then, somebody shouted, "Fire!" Next thing you knew, we were running out of the cafe and back to the car. The cops came, and 5 minutes later, Herbert was arrested and taken away. As he sped off, the Muffin House was 100% on fire. None of us really said much on the way home. I simply dropped everyone off at their house and went home myself. Herbert's mom's blue minivan, yes, it was stolen, was still at Steve's house, and so it had to be towed. I later found out that the Muffin House burned all the way to the ground, and that Murray Caverns would also be closed for a few weeks. But I couldn't help but think that it was all related to Herbert. I went home and just went to sleep early that night, as I just wanted to forget about all that had happened. That then concludes Below Ground Level.